Okay, declaring and using arrays. So an array is a programming language construct. It's used so often, it's one of the essential language constructs in programming languages, in any programming languages, because when you are dealing with a group of things, you cannot declare that many variables. You have to use an array. Okay, so this is used to organize a list of primitive type values of the same type or a list of objects of compatible types. So an array can store, an array itself, just know, an array itself is an object. Okay, it's defined behind the language by the language developer. It's an object. That means it's a class, right? And you, when you create an array, you are creating an object from that class. Okay, so this array, an array can hold primitive data type values. It can also hold objects. So because it is a group of elements, you have special syntax to access elements. An array is an ordered list of values of the same type. That is very important. An array is an ordered list of values of the same type. If you look at this one, okay, this is an array, visualization of the array. Let me put this on. And look at all the elements. We call the values in the array elements. Okay, an array elements. Look at it, all of them are integers, right? If you look at all of them are integers. So this entire array has a single name, just like in Python list, it has one name here. This is the array name. And then each value in it is called an element. And each element has a location. The reason is this whole thing is called one name. How do you differentiate each element from the elements from each other? You use the index. Okay, so this is a chunk of memory. Okay, contiguous in memory. It's contiguous. Why? They have to be the same type because this memory is contiguous and they have the same memory size. So if it's an int, each one is 4 bytes, 4 bytes, 4 bytes. So you cannot have a double here because a double will require 8 bytes. And when you access each element, you do a calculation from 0 to 1, you just add 4 bytes to it. So if your address is 100 here, this will be 104, 108, 112, right? If you have a double, the calculation will be wrong because it should be 108, while the next one calculated will be 104. That's why it has to be of the same type, because this memory is contiguous and each memory location must be of the same size. That's why they must be the same type. Okay. And their index always start at 0, and you know this from both Python and your previous knowledge of Java. Okay, so an array of size n is indexed from 0 to n minus 1. So this array has 10 elements, and its index starts from 0, right? 0, and the last index is 10 minus 1, which is 9. Okay, here. So that's that. The entire array has a single name, and when you want to reference an individual elements, this is how you do it. Score, this is the array name, followed by the subscriptor, or subscriptor, we call this subscript. Okay, so I will say scores sub 2, subscript 2, and that is this element. So when you do this, you are referencing this element, okay, which is 94. I will let you read in detail. I will just stress the important content. The entire array has a single name. We already said that, okay? So an array element can be assigned a value, printed or used in calculation Given the array name scores above scores first, actually usually array name is in singular form. Actually, here the author, this is from the author, this diagram, this figure. It should not be a plural. It's a single because always we reference each individual element. So it should be a singular form actually. An array element can be assigned a value printed. Okay, given the array name, the score above scores first is the same as score sub 3. So let's look at this. So you declare a variable, and now you declare a random scores sub 2 is 89, right? So now you are changing this to 89, right? Okay, sub 2. And scores sub first is 3. So when you do this, you are referencing this location. It's equal to scores sub first plus 2. So scores sub first will give you 82, right? 82 here. And you get that value, you add 2 to it. So now scores sub first becomes 84. Okay. And you can also do this score sub 0 plus score sub 1. Score sub 0 is this one, score sub 1. You add them together, divided by 2, and assign that to mean. And you can just use it, print it out. And you can even do this, right? This is generating an integer between 0 and 10. And 10 is not included, so it's between 0 and 9. And that will be the index. And whatever that index is, you will get the value from that location or whichever location it is and assign it to pick. Okay, so that's how you reference each individual element. You use the name of the array followed by the subscript operator and followed by the index. Okay, any questions? And you can treat each element as an individual int variable. Each element is treated as an individual int variable if the type is int, okay? So this is just saying they are called elements, right? Array element. And so this is an element, this is an element. They are all called array elements. They must have the same type. We said that. We call that the element type or base type. It can be primitive or object reference. I'm repeating here, right? Sometimes I just want to give you all the information I repeated. Therefore, we can create an array of integers, an array of characters, an array of string object, etc. An array itself is an object. We said that. Okay. So when you declare an array, this scores, this name always reference the very first element, the address of the very first element. And from then on, it will calculate for the next element, Okay, I mentioned that before. So this is how you declare an array. Remember in Java, before you use a variable, you always have to declare it. Right? We talked about that. In Python, you don't. You just say number equals to 3. But in Java, you have to say int number equal to 3. You always have to declare it. So this is how you declare an array. This is the type of the element. This is the subscript. This tells the system it's an array. It's not an individual int. And this is the array name. Because array is an object, we talked about that. Now you have to use new, right, to create the object. And the data type followed by the subscript and the size in it. Okay, that's how you declare it. So if you look at this, this is basically the type. It means it's an int array, right? The type, the variable name, the array name. Because it's an object, you use the keyword new. And that's the class name, not class name, the type name. And that's the size, okay? Type, right? Okay, look at these examples. And this is a Boolean type. Okay, and this is the array name. So this array will store 20 Boolean values, right? Okay, true or false. And array type, the data type, it's a char array. And that's how you do that. Any questions?
I'm just curious, when you try to do an array for strings, how much does it, like memory does it save? Because the string can be really long, can't it?
That's a great question. That's a great question, Jesus. That means you are thinking about it. That's very good. Okay, that's a great question. Here is what. If it's an int array and you have 2000, you require how much memory? 2000 times 4, right? That would be 8000 bytes. For this, you will need 500 times 8. That's 40,000, 4,000. And for Boolean, it's 2 bytes or 1 byte, I forgot. So that's how much memory you need. For strings and other objects, because they don't have a fixed size, because a string, as Jesus said, it can be long or short, hello versus hello world. They require different size memory. So for string, I think we are talking about that in later slides. For string, it will remember a string reference variable stores what, if you remember. If I say string s equals to new string, okay, and whatever you have there, remember what does this s, what is in this s? Is it the object actually, or does it store, we discussed this in chapter 3. What does s have? Remember, s is a reference variable because its string is a class, an object. So what does s have? What is stored in s actually? It's called a reference variable. So what is in there?
Sorry, I'm guessing it's just the address?
Yes, it's the address, the memory address, right? So for each string variable, it doesn't store the string itself. It stores the variable, the memory address for each, the location where the actual string is. So each string, each variable, each array element here is actually not the string itself. So it goes to a new memory location. Okay.
Yeah, that's a smart way of doing it.
that is how this works. So the memory location is still the size for this memory location. Okay, because this location, this array location only stores a memory address. So they are still the same. Does that answer your question, Jesus?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, good. And for objects, the reference, that's why we differentiate between the reference variable and the actual object, right? The actual object is hello world, but your reference variable only contains the address, not the actual hello world. So where is hello world, the actual object? It is in the heap. It's somewhere else which can shrink and expand, while your reference variables are actually on the stack in memory. Okay, but that's something that's you don't have to understand. Just know it's in a different location. Okay, good. So array declaration, declare an array named alphabet that can store the 26 English alphabetical characters. What data type should this be, everybody?
A char.
Char, right? And then A to the appropriate, so what's the index for A?
0.
What's the index for Z?
25.
Yes. What's the index for C?
2.
Yes, you're right, 2. Okay, an array named text rate that can store 3 text rates. This would be double, right? Okay, so here is how you do it. I'm not asking you to do it in class because this is a hybrid, so we don't have time for that. Okay, but this is how you do that. Just look at the examples so that you know how to do this, right? That's the data type. Here, I have to find the place. That's the data type, and this is how you do it. Always remember new, because just keep that in mind. An array is an object. Okay, so when you create a new array, you have to use the new operator, and followed by the type, followed by the size. Okay, this is how you do this, and this is the type, right? This is the type. Yes. Okay. Using arrays. Using an array, the for each version of the for loop can be used when processing an array elements for reading. So, okay, let's look at this for each. This is, did we learn this? This syntax, did we learn this in chapter 5 or chapter 6? I think you learned this. I gave you examples. Yes, now I remember in my lecture notes, we learned this. So this syntax, if you remember, this is the data type of the list. Okay, so scores is an int, so that's the data type. This is just a variable. You can call it anything. You can call it number, you can call it element, you can say anything, okay, followed by the colon, and this is the array name. And you can use each element by referencing it. So whatever this name is, this must be the same. So if you call this int number, num, then here you must reference the element as num. Okay, that's the key. Any questions about this syntax, everybody? Okay, so data type of the array. And this is the variable name you want to use for each element that references each element. This is the array name. So this is how you reference each element. Okay. Now let's look at this example. I actually have it here. Let's see. Basic array, right? Here. Okay, let's look at this. So basic array, right? This is a final, and so this is how you create the int array, 15 integers. And then this is the classic for loop, if you look at it, right? For int, index is 0, you start from 0, index is less than limit, index plus plus, and you go through each array element, right? Because index first is 0, then it's 1, then it's 2, then it's 3, then it's 14. And when it's 15, this condition is not satisfied, so it gets out. That's why a for loop is perfect for an array processing. Okay, so this index will change from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. And index multiplied by multiple, and multiple is 10. So 0 multiplied by 10, that would be 0. And 1 multiplied by 10 will be 10, right? That's the for loop. And now you change one element, and then you print it out using this syntax. That is int, because, okay, because this array is of int type, and value is just a variable. And list, what is list? I'm going to ask you, what is list? Daniel, what is list?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
I'm sorry, Daniel?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry about that.
What were you thinking then? Tell us your inner thoughts. It is the array, right, everybody? And everybody, please pay attention. If
Sorry
you
about
know,
that, Professor.
Okay, so this is just the name of the array, right? That's good. And what is this value? What is that? Derek, what is that? Oh, I stopped. No. Derek, can you answer that question? That's correct. We use value. I think you understand it, but you didn't state it clearly. So we use value here because we use the value there. It's just so arbitrary, right? If I use a number here, then I have to change this to number. So remember, this is used to reference each element. So whatever you use here, we use it here. Okay, that is my question, just to see if you understand this syntax. Okay, so let's run. Okay, that is what is printed out, everybody, right? If you look at this, you're assigning values, you are multiplying 10 by the index. So index is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you changed list up 5 to 99 here. And then you are printing it out, right? So that's the result. Any questions about this? Recording. Okay. So this one we discussed, and this is how it works. The array is created with 15 elements indexed from 0 to 14. That's when you say, okay, that's this part. Where are you? So when you do this, you have this. Okay. And then after 3 iterations of the for loop, so after 3 iterations, so when index is 0, when index is 1, when index is 2, after those 3 iterations, you will have 0, 10, and 20. Do you understand how this is calculated? The index is 0, when it's 0, index multiplied by 10 will be 0. When index is 1, it will be 10. When index is 2, it will be 20, right? That's what happens after 3 iterations. After all the 15 iterations are done, you will have all the values. After completing the first loop, these are the values, right? Okay, and then you do this. So you have this. Okay, that's that. Okay, and then you are just displaying it, right? Okay, let's go to, do I have the answer? Write a program that does the following. We will not be able, we don't have time to do this. You can do this. I think I have videos for this also. Write an array declaration to represent the ages of 10 children named age. Let's just do the first 2, maybe, or the first 3. Okay, write an array declaration to represent the ages of 10 children named age. How do you do that? Can you declare an array that will represent the ages of 10 children named age? Anyone?
And then 10 close bracket.
Okay, so I think I have here. Okay, so we will do, because age is an int, so that means an int array, and that's the array name, new, right? Always remember new. And this data type is int, so you will say int and 10 semicolon, right? That's how you do that. Assign 8 to each child using a for loop. So remember, for loop, okay, for we will do int I. I always use I because I is just easy. Less than 10, I plus plus. And you are assigning 8 to each child. So the array name, right, followed by I, that's the index, equals to 8. That's it. Questions about this, everybody? Am I recording? Yes. Okay. So that's that, right? And change the last child's age to 10. How do you do that? Change the last child's age to 10. Let me see who I haven't called. Isaac. How do you change the last child's age to 10?
So if you're changing the last one, you would have to use the n-1, correct?
Okay, you just tell me. How do
Okay.
I change the last child's age to 10? How do I do that? Brian, how do I do that? Because that's the bounds checking. You can never, if it's 10 elements, the last one will always be one less than 10. That would be 9. That's very good. Okay, the next one is change the second child's age to 5. Change the second age to 5. Anyone? Tyler. The second child's age to 9, to whatever.
Age,
Tyler.
open bracket, 1, close bracket, equals, what was the number you said?
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yes,
5.
Okay. 5, okay, very, very good. Let me do this one thing, then we will continue. I wish we could do this. I like to do exercises in class, but because it's a hybrid, we simply don't have that time, right? We don't have the luxury to do that. Print out the children's ages or the for each loop. So I will do that. To do that, for int I is 0. I'm doing it this way, and then I will do it another way. Okay, less than 10i plus plus, right? And then we will print it out. So that is system.out.print. We'll just do print so that they are not to 10 lines. And how do I print it out? Tell me, everybody.
0, so the index starts at 0, and then you are incrementing it by 1, which will make you go all the way through the entire array.
Yes, this I is a variable, everybody. So it changes each round of the loop. Each iteration, it will change, right? The first iteration, it's 0. The second iteration is 1 and 2 and 3, etc. And it iterates 15 times because it starts from 0. So the last time would be 14. Oh, no, not 15, 10. Because it starts at 0, the last time it will be 9. Okay, so can I simply do, if I do this, what will happen?
It'll print out the whatever is in the index 2 10 times.
10 times, yes. So you cannot use 1 or 2 or 3. You have to use the variable so that each time that I changes, the element it references changes, right? This is one thing. Let's run. Okay, I did not put space there, but you can see this is what it is, right? We changed. So, okay, now another thing I want to do is I want to use the for each loop, everybody. Let's practice that. Okay, use the for each loop. So for and parenthesis, and inside, depending on the element type of the array. So the element type for this array is an int. You will use int. And you will just choose a variable name, whatever you want to name it. okay? And followed by the colon, right? And after the colon is the list, is the array. The array name is age here, right? Okay, and then you will do system.out.printout. Print. And followed by, what do I put here, everybody?
You use child age.
Yes, very good, child age. Okay, and let's give it a space. So this will do exactly the same thing as the previous one. Right? I used print, I didn't get out, so it continues it. It did it again on the same line. Okay, so that's how you use this for loop. And so one thing you must remember, this is extremely important, is that you cannot use this version of for loop to change the element. Okay, basically you cannot do this. Okay, if I do it this way, I cannot do what? I cannot do age, child age, that's the variable name, right? Equals to 34, which is terrible. What? I can do this? Huh, this is so strange. Did they change, did Java change? You are not, oh yeah, it tells you can, oh. So it says index 34. Huh, this is strange. It can even compile. Previously, it cannot even compile. So here it, no matter what, look at it. It's taking this as the index. That's very strange. Let's see if this works. Okay. And then I'm going to print it and see what happens. Because I was going to tell you that you cannot use it, did I? Okay. Copy. You cannot use it to change things, only to read. Let's see what happens. Huh, this is strange. This is the first time it works this way. So obviously it's doing this, right? This is done. And then somehow the last two becomes 3 and 3. I don't understand it. Obviously, this is something new for me even, because previously you can absolutely not do this, because you cannot use this to, so this is, this is strange. So you don't do it this way. Okay, this is wrong. Don't do it because it has more nuances there, right? So what I was trying to say, and you see that you cannot use this syntax to change things. Don't use this to assign values to each array element. When you want to assign value to the array element, you use this syntax. Okay, this is only for reading. You know, read and write, right? This is for read only, not write. So you don't use it to write to the array elements. You only use it to access it, to read it. Okay, that's something I will look into. It's the first time I did it that way, and it even compiled. I thought it wouldn't compile. Okay, so bounds checking. Once an array is created, it has a fixed size. An index. Am I recording? Yes. Okay, an index used in an array reference must specify a valid element. Okay, so you cannot do this, right? You cannot say age 10 equals to 5. You cannot do this because it's out of bound, right? Okay, because index 10 out of bounds, that's what that, and it throws you an array index out of bounds exception. That means it's an error. something is not right. It's out of bounds. The last index should be 9. Okay. So it must be valid. And you just saw that. Okay. We discussed that, right? So if you look at this, if the value of count is 100, okay, if this array has 100 elements, then this will be wrong. This is called off by 1 error. That means it's not a big error. It's just one off. However, it crashes your program. So it seems very minute, but it's big because it crashes. Your program will crash. So index is less than or equal to simply because you have an equal to. That causes the big problem. So if you have 100 elements, the last element's index is 99. So you should take this off. Okay. Bounds checking. Okay. Because array, as we said, array is a class, right? And that class has a public constant named length. So this is a constant. It's when you create the array with the size, it will assign that that value to length. So scores.length. Scores is the name of the array. .length. This is a variable. It doesn't have the parentheses. It's a variable. This will give you the number of elements in the array. Okay. So if you look at this, I can print it out. I can say age.length, that because it's a variable, it will give you the length of the array. Oh, let's just do that. Did I still have that problem there? It will not run. Okay. Okay, it gives you the length, right? That's 10. So that's a variable that you can use. So because of that, we can come back and change this 10 to what? To age. Everybody look at this. To age.length. So instead of using the hard number, you simply use this variable. What's the good thing about this? The good thing about this is that this way, no matter what this is, you can change it to 100 or to 20. This will change accordingly. But if you use this 10, and no, if you make this, if you use 10 here, then if you change your array size, you have to come here to change each one of them, right? That's the benefit of using a variable, okay? So you can see it's exactly the same. I'm doing it for how many times? Oh, 20, because I did 20, right? So it's 20 times. 20 times, and the length is 20. So that's how you use that scores.length. Any questions, everybody? We continue. Let's look at this. This is reverse order, right? Reverse order. You create a scanner named scan and double. It's a double array. And enter the size, the size of the array printed out, the array name dot length, and use this syntax. And notice that dot length, that would be 10, right? Okay. And you print out enter number plus index plus 1. Why do we do index plus 1? Daniel, why do we do index plus 1? Look at this. You will understand that. Why do we do index plus 1? Everybody? Anyone else? Jesus, why?
Because the index starts at 0 and the first number they put is like their first number. So
Yeah.
if it starts at 0, you add 1 and then it becomes
Yes.
the actual number that they put in.
Yes, yes, because for computer, the array starts at 0. For human beings, do we start at 0? No, we always start at 1. So just to make it more easier to understand for the user, so enter number 1, number 2, number 3. Okay, it's a simple logic there.
I understand now.
Okay, good. So then you just do scan, right? Scan the next one and put it into that location. You enter a number, so this will go to position 0, position 1, position 2, right? In that array, that's the array. So you print out in reverse order. You start from length -1 because your length is 10, the last element would be at 9. So greater than or equal to 0. Here we use equal because we need to include 0, right? And you go down because you're starting from the end, you go to the beginning, so you do index minus minus instead of index plus plus, and you print it out. Okay, and that is the running of the program. Any questions about this program? So you can process this array from the beginning, or you can process it from the end. Okay, this is a letter count. This is a little bit more complicated program. I have detailed explanation here. I want you to look at it and see if you understand it, and if whichever place you want me to explain. So upper minus a is sub-zero, is 0. So that means this location and this element. So this basically means upper plus plus, which means originally it's 0, now it's 1. Does that make sense, Aaron?
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes more sense now. Yeah, I understand it now.
Okay, now, and then you get out of the for loop. You increment, I will keep on going. You increment this, now this becomes 1, right? Now this is 1. So 1 is less than line.length. Line is a string, so this is a method. That's why you have this. It's not an array. Line is a string, right? So that's whatever the length is. And this becomes 1. So current is equal to line.char at ch. And char at ch at 1 is b. So now your current is b. And if current, which is b, is greater than or equal to a, and b is 98, okay, and this a is 65. So here, right here. So this is true. It's greater than 65. This condition is true, but it's not less than z. So 65 plus 26, that would be 81. 65 plus 26, 91, right? 91. And this b is 98. So this condition is not true. And you don't do this, you go to else. And then if current is greater than lowercase a, which is 97, that's true. And it's less than z, which is 100 something, which is also true. So you come here and you go to lower current, which is b, minus a, that's 98 minus 97, which is 1. And so you go to the lower array, 0, 1, and you go to 1, you add 1 to it. Okay, that's how this works. And if it's not within these ranges, if that means it's not alphabetical character, you go to other plus plus. And that's why you see this is how it's printed out when you do this. This will go to I, you add 1 to it. You know, if it's an A, you will add 1 to it. So you accumulate the count of the letters. Does that make sense, everybody?
That did make sense. But I think I had a question on the print results.
Okay.
How does it know to like print out like capital letter A all the way through Z? Mm-hmm. Is it only if it's in the sentence, or it just prints them all out?
So you are talking about this part, right?
Correct.
Okay. So for, okay, this would be 26, right? You can say lower, it doesn't matter. They are both 26, I believe, yes. Okay, so system.out.print, letter plus letter is 0 plus A. Oops, oops, why? Okay, so letter original, the first time it's 0 plus A, that is what? That is 65, right? 0 plus 65, that's 65. And you convert 65 to character, which is A. So
okay, yeah.
that's what you printed out, A. Okay, and the second time letter is 1. So 1 plus A is 66. You convert 66 to a char, that would be B. That's how that works.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, thank you very much.
So because this is print, you print out A followed by this, followed by the value in that array. This is a very clever use of the ASCII characters and the array. If you look at this program, it's a great program to show you how you can manipulate the characters using their ASCII values and the array index. So this is a very good program. And this is the same thing, right? Letter is 0, 0 plus 97, that's 97. Convert that into a character, that would be lowercase a, okay? And that's what you see here. So it does that all the way, okay? Any other questions, everybody? No?
So in the print results where it says char, that just changes the data type of the ASC value into a character value.
You are talking about here or here?
The system, the one in system.out.print char, the first one.
Yes, yes. This is using the index value, right?
Right.
And this is a character. And if you go back to chapter 2 or chapter 3, when you do this, because it's an int, and okay, because it's an int, right? And this is automatically converted into an int. If you go back, you will know that a char can be converted into an integer because it is an int. So A is integer 965. That's the ASCII value. So it will add them together. That becomes 65.
Oh, because the index value is 0.
Yes.
And then that would be converted into a character, which would come out as capital A. Okay.
Yes. When this is 1, when letter is 1, it will be 66. It will come out as B.
Character B, yeah, okay. Okay.
And this is the same thing. Just remember, this is 97. So it will come out as 97 converted to a character, which is A.
And that's why they're on separate arrays, because otherwise your index value would be higher, which wouldn't convert properly to a lowercase a.
Yeah, and also you are accumulating the count of lowercase a and uppercase A, lowercase b and uppercase b, right?
Right.
So you have two arrays.
Two
so
separate
that
lists, yeah.
You can properly accumulate the count of each individual character. So you basically have 52 characters, uppercase and lowercase. And then you have other, which is non-alphabetical characters. And that's what you see here, right? Non-alphabetical characters, 14. So that comma, alphabetical characters. Okay. Any other questions? I like when you ask questions because that gives me a chance to explain it so that everybody understands it. Because if you don't ask, I don't know where you don't understand. So if you have questions, ask. Any other questions?
Sorry, Professor, I think you cut off there. I don't know if it was my internet or yours. The non-alphabetical characters was, did you say the spaces were included?
Yeah, the space is counted as other because if it's not this one, it's not uppercase. If it's not lowercase, it goes to else.
Okay, thank you.
So if you count the space, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, right? That's 14 non-alphabetical characters. But this is counted as a character because that's what the user entered. It's non-alphabetical, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions, everybody? No? Okay, no questions. We go to, you can declare an array like this. This is the data type, and you can put this here, which is, you just need to recognize this, but you don't do it that way. You just do it this way. Isn't this easier? Double is a type and array, a double array, right? Just, but this is, this will be okay too. If I were a language developer, I would completely just scrap that because you don't need that to do that. Okay, let's go on. Initializer lists. Let's see. Okay, an initializer list is like this. You have the array type, you have the array name. Instead of using the square bracket to assign values one by one, if you know the values already, am I recording? I always have to check to see if I'm recording. Okay, you will just give the values. So curly braces, not this, okay, not that, not this, curly braces, notice, that's the curly braces. Separate the values with a comma and followed by a semicolon, okay? Look at this, that's the data type array, and curly braces, semicolon, and individual characters, separate them by with a comma. Okay, that's called initializer list. Notice that the new operator is not used. You don't use the new operator, and no size value is specified. Why? Because the system look at this, it will decide the size value. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you say units.length, it will give you 10. For this one, if you say grades.length, it will give you 5. Okay. And this one, this is an example, right? Prime number. And so the length will give you the length, and the first few prime numbers are the first few because there are so many. How many? Trillions or something? Okay, currently the ones we know. So billions, I think. I don't remember. I watched the video about that actually the other day with my husband about the math problem. It's so fascinating. So, okay, this is the syntax, right? Int prime numbers, that's the array name. And you print it out, right? Okay, so any questions about this? Declare and initialize an array named vowels using the initializer syntax. Print out each vowel using the range-based for loop syntax. Let me do that. I will just do it so that you can see. Okay. So what am I asking? I'm asking you to do declare and initialize an array named vowels, right? Using the initializer list. So vowels are char. So a char array, and let's call it vowels. Oh, vowel equals to, and this is the syntax, right? And in it, you see, even if you have 0 elements, once the syntax is correct, it compiles, right? So vowels, because it's char, we use single quotes. I'm learning Spanish, I-E-I-O-U, right? So vowels, very interesting. Okay, so that's how you do that. Any questions, everybody? Using the initializer list syntax. That is the initializer list syntax. And print out each vowel. So let's print out each vowel using the range based or for each loop. So I will call it a vowel, right? Okay, that's a variable and it's a char. So that's the array type, array element type. So it's a char, right? So here you have to say char, not int. And the array name, okay? And then you just print it out. Sometimes copy and paste is less efficient than simply type it out. And what do I put here, everybody? What goes inside this parenthesis?
The vowel.
Vowel, that variable name, yes. Okay. Okay, so. Okay, you can see that's how you do that, right? Any questions so far? Oh, I have it here. Okay, we will not do this. I have a video for this, so you can look at that. Arrays of object. Okay, and obviously we discussed this already. String is an object, it's a class, so you can declare an array of objects also, right? What's new string? And so you have 5 strings. It does not create the string objects themselves. So that means currently each element is null, it's empty. Null means it doesn't have a reference yet. It doesn't have an address yet. It just creates those empty spaces for further use in the future. Okay, each object stored in that array must be instantiated separately. Each object stored in an array must be instantiated separately. So let's look at this. This is when you declare the array, when you say string subscript words equals new string subscript 5, when you do this, okay, this is what happens. See, each address, each location is null. Each reference variable is null. It doesn't point to anything. And once you create each individual object, for example, you do words 0 equals to friendship, and then words 1 equals to loyalty, etc. Once you do that, then this has an address. The address will be here, and that address is the address of this place. Okay, so it's pointing there. It's pointing there. It's pointing there. And these two, if you didn't do anything, it's still null. It's not pointing to anything. Does that make sense? That's what this means when it says each object stored in an array must be instantiated separately. Okay, otherwise it's null. So if you look at this right now, it's null. But if you instantiate 3 objects, you do words sub 2 equals to honor, then sub 4, sub 5, sub 3, sub 4 are still empty. Okay, they are still null. There is no elements there. Okay, so after this initial creation of the array, if you do this, it will print up nothing, null pointer. It will give you a null pointer exception. But after you instantiate it with friendship, it will print out friendship. Okay, that's important to remember. But you can also simply do this. If you know the strings, what is this syntax called? What is it called? Starts with I. What is this syntax called? It starts with I, everybody.
Instantiating.
Not instantiating, initializer list. This is the initializer list. So if you initializer list is used because there is no pattern for you to assign values using a for loop. You know, you assign values to an array using a for loop only when there is a pattern, right? If there is no pattern, you cannot assign values to it using a for loop. So that's when you can use an initializer list. So if I ask you to create 10 elements of an array with integers, and I will just randomly give you integers. So, you know, how do you assign them? Using a for loop, it's impossible because there is no pattern. You cannot do multiplication, addition, subtraction, or division to get the values. So you use an initializer list. Just assign it. That's when you use initializer list, when you don't have a pattern, when you already know the values. Okay, so that's that. Do you have any questions, everybody?
When you say that an array of objects, like a string is an object, were we creating objects when we were doing like methods and all that? So we can do like, I don't remember, we did a car class, like
Yes.
you can make, but it would just create them. Like you can't initialize it, can you? Because that's like too much information to put in.
Yes, if you have, okay, let me go to this one, rectangle, for example. You can create a rectangle class, an array. I will just here, put it here. Can I? Yes. I'm trying to put it here so that, okay, so I moved it here, right? So now I have this one, and then I have a rectangle class, right? So in my in this class, I can use it. I can say rectangle array, right? And just call it rec equals to new rectangle. That's the class name 2. Okay, I can do that. And then I can say rec sub 0 equal to new, you create a rectangle. Remember, this references an individual object, an individual element, which is a rectangle, right? So you just say new rectangle. And I believe I put length and width, so 2, 3, right? And so you can do that. New rectangle 4 and 5. Okay, oh, that should be 1. So that's what you can do. Okay, and then you can use a for loop for, let me see if I can do this. I think I can. Rec equals to, that's the, can I do this? I don't know. For an object, I cannot do it. For an object, I cannot, because object is too complicated. Okay, so you can do for int I equals to 0, I is less than rec.length, right? That's the length variable, and rec I plus plus. And then you can print it out. Rec I. Okay, let's see. Let's run it. So this is doing it with objects. Okay, so that's the toString method of the rectangle, right? If you look at it, that's my toString method of the rectangle. Okay, there. So you can use an array to, you can deal with objects in an array, yes. Another thing you can do is you can do this. Okay, I'm going to do this. So you can actually say rec I. If you want to change each one, I dot set length. If you want to change the length to I multiplied by 10, or because I originally is 0, so I will just do I plus 1. That will give me 1, right? So, okay. So the first one will be 1, the second one will be 2. Will be the first one will be 1, the second one will be 2 set width. Okay, so you can see that you can use this to manipulate the objects. Okay, and then let's print it out. Okay, do you all understand this, everybody? I was talking to myself. So do you understand this part basically?
Yes.
This is an array element. The first one is 0, sub 0. The second time it's sub 1. I have only two of them. So, and then I is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 times 10, right? And the next time it will be 1, 1 plus 1 will be 2, 2 times 10. And this is time. So I can use I can set the length and width of each individual array element. And let's run it. Okay, so you can see, right? The length and width. Yes, length, the second one. Oh, this is the second rectangle. So do you see, you can, Jesus, you asked a question, I answered it with a long answer. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. I think my other question was if you can initialize an object with an array, but no, yes, this makes sense.
Yes, this is initializing it, right? Instantiate, and that's what this is saying. If you go back to here, it says each object stored in an array must be instantiated separately.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to do it separately. Okay. Any other questions, everybody?
I just have, so why is it I plus 1? Why wouldn't just I work for that loop? Or I'm sorry, not for that loop, but for that for the set length.
Yeah, it will work also. Okay, I will, you can see what it looks like, because I did plus 1 because the initial I is what? 0.
Yeah.
0 times 10 is what? It's still 0, right?
Right.
So that's why I did I plus.
Oh, okay. I thought that was calling on the length of the actual array. And so I was, when you do.
It's set. No, here it's set, right?
Yeah, I see that now. Okay.
Okay. So just to dwell on the point, you can see the first time it's 0, 0 because I is 0, the first round, right? The first iteration. So that will set length and width to 0. That's why I did the plus 1. So that it is 10 and 20. It's just arbitrary there. But just remember that I references the index here, right? This value here. Okay. Any other questions, everybody? No questions? Okay. I'm